and you don't have to say the event, maybe you say the nature of the event, that you just automatically turn them down because they didn't fit in with the model of the brand that you're trying to put together? Like, I'm thinking with liquor that you might have been offered to, say, be at a bike rally or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with bikers, but I'm just saying, I'm thinking there might have been certain things that came about that were offered that you automatically, as a team, said, no, we're not doing that because it's not going to fit in with our brand market.
You know, it's funny you should say that, because actually a couple of our team members are, you know, professionals, executives, and they're also bikers. So you're right. I mean, bikers are cool, but it's interesting because I think that it's so obvious that our product is a premium product by the packaging, by the label, by the experience, that we really haven't had that as an issue at all. Where we have had an issue, and especially until we get additional distribution through this deal that we're trying to close by the end of the year so that we can sell on our website, until we're available in a state, we've had to come to terms with the fact that it just doesn't make sense. Initially, we were really jumping through hoops and trying to find distributors who would make exceptions and allow us to be in places, but it just doesn't work. If our product is not available in that state currently, we just can't, unfortunately, at this time, support those events. So if we're not in Indiana, Texas, or North Carolina right now, we can't do it because the product has to be available. Otherwise, it's just too difficult to make it all happen. And we, quite frankly, we end up with a lot of frustrated consumers who say, oh, my gosh, I love it. Where can I get it? And if it's not available through that state, we can't get it. So by the end of the year, we hope to have resolved that in all but a handful of states. And so fingers crossed, you know, after January 1, we're hoping that will be even less of an issue.
I mean, have you tried to get it? Like, I know recently. Go ahead. Jump in.
Oh, sorry. No, I just thought of a press opportunity for you guys. So I don't know if you've already done it, but in your local hometown and even maybe in some of the states that you are in, have you been on like the local news as far as segments? My thought is we have the 4th of July, and I know that this is like really short notice. However, they always do those fun kind of like cooking segments, and all I can think of is you could say, you know, here's a couple of different fun 4th of July cocktails to make with our product. Is that something that you've ever pitched to the media?
Hey, Allison, we'll be calling you tomorrow.
Because I was on your site and I saw all your cool recipes, and I said, it's a thought to myself. I'm like, oh, my gosh. And so my other thought, too, is that July 3rd, they're really slow for news. So this would be a good time for maybe you to get in there and just to think outside the box. But, yeah, I'll give you all some ideas. But I think you could, if you pitch them tomorrow, I think you could potentially get on one of the news stations, the morning show or the noon show that they typically do.
Okay, great. We love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I love when networking happens right here on this show. We love when folks will connect in this kind of way. But I was wondering, like we just had the All-Star game. Did you try to do any of those kind of big sporting events? Because, I mean, we don't get that many of them in North Carolina, but we do get occasional ones like we had. I believe the All-Star game was in Charlotte, and there, of course, one of the parties, I think it's the other people's party, is coming here in the near future. So I didn't know whether y'all had ever tried to pitch to the big events that are North Carolina happening or North Carolina based. I mean, there may be national based, but they're happening in our state.
Well, we have been asked. We were asked to participate in All-Star. Typically, what we do for the most part, believe it or not, there's more money actually made off of CIAA in North Carolina A&T's homecoming than it was from the All-Star game. And so generally what we do is we sort of center around the masses. So we participate in North Carolina's Alumni Week. We've done that for the last 4 or 5 years, and we've also participated with CIAA. And we've got accounts in Charlotte, the Downtown City Marriott, which is the official CI hotel for all the Marriotts across the country that was just renovated. We're in their bar, along with a few other accounts in Charlotte. So we make sure that when anytime events are coming to those cities, that we support those events by having tastings and things of those natures at those particular accounts to support those accounts.
Now the other thing I want to know is if Ralph is still on the line, and I think he had joined us at one point, I want to know if he's trying to get y'all some markets in the foreign country that he just went to, because Ralph was celebrating his birthday, so he ran away from y'all for a day or two. So I want to know if Ralph was trying to tie y'all into wherever he was going, because I know he went overseas, but I can't remember where. I want to say it was Greece.
Ralph, are you still on? Ralph may be asleep because I think he just got back last night.
And Ralph did tell me that. So Ralph may be knocked out. He may be just trying to get some rest and everything of that nature. But if I know Ralph, he was trying to negotiate the business, and we'll have y'all in Greece or some of those other countries within a matter of a week or two.
Right. I'm sure he did. There is no way he didn't. But he has not had a chance to update us on all of his activities in Greece yet. But we will definitely be cornering him on that tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sure y'all will. And that as a business, y'all are all partners and all friends. But how do y'all have a weekly meeting? Do y'all have a phone meeting? How do y'all conduct this business with all these partners? It's like 6 partners in here. I mean, they're in the business. So how do y'all run the business? Do y'all have like a daily meeting, a weekly update? How exactly do you put this madhouse together?
I mean, it's just like, any other corporation these days where you're able to do it virtually. I mean, you really don't have to be sitting in the same building. We generally conduct everything via conference calls, and we do have periodic in-person meetings, but for the most part, because we're all spread out, well, not so much all over the country, but spread between Indiana, Texas, Virginia, and North Carolina, and so we do most of our activities via conference calls, and that's worked for us. And so we have, sort of ongoing business issues and then unusual situations that will come up, especially with this most recent run. We decided to make some changes to our bottle and tweak a couple of things, and so that, that was kind of a special run on that most recent run, and so that did warrant some special conference calls and in-person meetings just to make sure we were all on the same page. But, the reality is that we all have our day jobs. This is not something that we're able to do full-time yet. As you mentioned, a couple of individuals are attorneys, a couple are working for major corporations, and all of them are in, very significant professional roles. So it's sort of tough to, escape from that and get together on a regular basis because we are all in different states. But we do get together regularly via conference call.
And how, I'm curious your opinion, how do y'all, and from your personal opinion and Kelvin's as well, how do you do that balancing act? We talked to Allison about how she balances it. She's a divorced mom of 3 and everything, and I know some of you are in various forms of life, whether it's married, divorced, single, or whatever. And then you're trying to also have your day job and also running this business, which seems to me like that would be a third or a fourth job as well. So it seems to me like there's going to be some serious balancing acts. I was just wondering what advice you give to people on how to even make that balance happen, because it seems to me that would be very difficult, because I know for at least 3 or 4 of y'all, you got like at least, if you want to count family, what people would consider the quote-unquote main job, and then the entrepreneurial job, at least 3, and some people might even argue 4.
Right. I think the key thing is that you have to be clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve, and what's the end game. And once you know what that looks like, then you can sort of try to figure out what's the game plan to get there so that you can define the roles and the positions. And that's something that fortunately we did very, very early on. I mean, there are 6 of us, and so most everything is done by consensus. I think Shon, who's officially the CEO, has only had to make an executive decision one time when we couldn't come to consensus. But otherwise, we've been able to get together, vote, and let the majority rule, but with the leadership of a person taking on a particular functional duty. So, Kelvin has really been in charge of negotiating with the distributors, Kelvin and Ponce, and really being in charge of sales. Gary has really been in charge of product development. And so, we each have a role to play, and we try to stay in our lanes, or at least let that person take the lead in guiding our conversations and helping us then come to consensus. I must say, it's a lot. While it's complicated having 6 team members, it's also a lot easier, obviously, when you have team members that you can lean on. This is a great group. I did not know the other four of the 6 as well. Obviously, Ralph's my brother, but he's got great friends, and they all are, just the utmost gentlemen, the utmost professionals. They are just great people to work with on any level, and so it's been a great experience for me. But it takes having good partners.
And that just raises another interesting question, and I don't even know if this is ethical or not, but I know that Ralph is an attorney, and part of his attorney business is with athletes and entertainers. I was wondering, have y'all ever gotten together with them and tried to have them endorse some of the projects? Because I know that he's done some work with past law firms as well as his own law firm, and I want to say you have as well, where y'all have had some success with some people that were with some of the ACC and MEAC and CIAA teams that have gone on to success on the professional level, if not in like the NBA and the NFL, definitely in the European League and some of the other leagues.
Well, I do know from a NFL, NBA standpoint, they're technically not allowed, if they're playing and under contract, they can't endorse alcohol. And so a lot of it for us is from an entertainment standpoint, but we're still looking for I call it Mr. or Mrs. Still Moon. And so we have this phrase that we always use called the Still Moon life and what that looks like. And so if you took the evolution of moonshine, you talked about the backwoods versus modern day, and you took somebody that was walking around in overalls and boots, and you put somebody that was in a nice suit with a nice date, and they're sitting side by side. And that is sort of the imagery that we want, that Still Moon can be anybody, can look like anybody. And so that's what we're going after. And so it's been hard in some ways to find a person that fits that mold. You'll be amazed that a lot of times when we go to these events, we're constantly taking pictures because we're trying to find something that fits into what we find is something that is universal. So we try not to pigeonhole ourselves in one way or another. If we had the big marketing dollars, we would certainly probably maybe have somebody that endorsed the product. But at the same time, what we've learned is that Still Moon is inclusive of everybody. And so, like Gale said, we appeal to a lot of women, which kind of surprises. Even when we go to these whiskey events, we get a lot more women drinking whiskey than we do men. I think that there's an uptick with women drinking whiskey more so than men. And so we try to put something out in the atmosphere that is encompassing of everything and everyone that's out there. And so we're still working towards finding that person that can speak for the brand from a national standpoint. But at the same time, we're enjoying the challenge of finding that person because we've gotten a lot of great picks for social media and for the website to put out in the atmosphere.
And what would either you or Gale, what would be the dream event or the dream next step for y'all? I mean, everybody as they're going through their business has a dream next step. Now, you're at a certain level now, but say at the end of the year or the beginning of 2020, where would you like Drink Still Moon to be, or let's even go 5-10 years down the future? What do y'all see as, in y'all's vision, what should be the next steps, or what your dream next steps are? We know that in business things can change in a heartbeat.
A dream next step would be a national account, and that could be Total Wine, Kroger, Costco, an airline, Marriott, national, because we have had success with local or even regional opportunities, but a national partnership is really what we would love to find.
And do you see, Kelvin, would you agree with that as well? Kelvin, did you hear me?
Uh-oh, did we lose him?
I'm sorry, I had you on mute. Say that again.
I'm saying, would you agree with that the dream next step would be a national account, or do you have another dream step other than what Gale just alluded to, which is that national account?
No, I think Gale's 100% correct in that. gotten a chance to meet some of these regional accounts that could potentially be national accounts. But I think